Welcome to the Raconteur by Craig K. Collins. The Oxford English Dictionary defines a raconteur as the narrator of an anecdote or story, especially a person particularly skilled in this role. Here you'll find thoughtful, handcrafted prose, stunning photos, and insights into people, places, and cultures, mostly off the beaten path. This week's episode takes us to the ancient Bristlecone Pine Forest, high atop the White Mountains of Eastern California, where I meditate amid the oldest living things on Earth. The Buddhist in me. I hear the ancient Bristlecone Pines whisper, all things must pass. I am alone at 10,000 feet in the White Mountains of California, sitting on a flat rock, eyes closed, meditating, and trying, so far unsuccessfully, to empty my mind of all thought, internal chatter, and worry. The setting sun, warm upon my face, is casting an amber glow on the weathered, honeyed trunks of a pair of ancient bristlecone pines known as the Sentinels. I feel their presence behind my right shoulder as they spindle skyward. These siblings sprouted at roughly the same time, some 3,500 years ago. The nearest tree is dead, having succumbed 500 years previous, leaving its partner to carry on. Yet its hulking, twisting skeleton still strikes a majestic pose, as it has done for the past 5 centuries, and will likely continue for perhaps several centuries more. It stands as a reminder that all things must pass, even seemingly ageless bristlecones. Together, these trees have experienced nearly 1.3 million sunsets. I am honored to share this most recent one with them. It is surprisingly quiet in this high-altitude forest. The bristlecones are stout and spaced far apart. They don't sway in the breeze, and neither does the wind whisper through their branches. At this altitude, there are fewer birds, insects, and animals. It is not a raucous place, filled with noisy arboreal denizens like so many lowland forests. Here, quiet and solitude abound. I close my eyes, concentrate, and listen to the silence. But I can mostly only hear myself think. Did I pay my car registration? Should I get new tires? Don't forget to call my mom. When forced with silence, it's remarkable how much you notice your brain to be filled with the constant buzz of quotidian thoughts. I focus on emptying my mind, and after several minutes, am somewhat successful, but not entirely. For there is something deep down blocking my path to tranquility. After further meditation, I identify it as a deep, lingering sorrow over the recent passing of a close family member, as well as some just received news of a beloved high school classmate's sudden death. Earlier that day, I'm descending Sherwin Grade on Highway 395 on my way from Mammoth Lakes to my old hometown of Bishop. I'm on a photography expedition through the Eastern Sierra, beneath whose lofty peaks I spent the first 17 years of my life. Before me, the Owens Valley, the deepest in the U.S., stretches 100 miles into the distance. On my left is the 14,252-foot White Mountain Peak, just beneath which the ancient Bristlecone Pines reside. On my right is the Eastern Sierra, an imposing wall of granite with a jagged collection of 13,000 and 14,000-foot peaks, which greet me like old friends and make my heart soar. There's Mount Tom, the photogenic pyramidal peak that dominates the Bishop skyline. And there's Basin Mountain, a 13er I unwisely summited with high school pal Randy Smith in the bitter cold of December and nearly didn't live to tell the tale. And Mount Humphreys, only 8 feet shy of 14,000, and whose intimidating granite prominence looks like a shark's tooth. I glide down the grade and coast onto the valley floor, where towering cottonwoods line each side of the road and escort me into town. The meadows beyond the trees are lush beneath the summer heat, following the heavy mountain snows of winter and subsequent cool spring. I meet my classmate, Annette Holland, for gossip and lunch on the outdoor deck of Whiskey Creek. We catch up on the comings and goings of our lives and those of our classmates. She then tells me of classmate Bobby Tanner, whose family for decades led pack mule trips into the Sierra backcountry, and whose 20-mule Death Valley Days borax wagon train was a huge hit at parades from Bishop to Pasadena to Sun Valley, Idaho. Bobby expired 2 weeks prior, suddenly, unexpectedly, and peacefully, while reclined in a chair at home. I tell Annette that it all came rushing back to me while driving down Sherwin Grade. I was 17 again, the summer after my senior year, flying down the road in my Datsun 510, Springsteen and the Stones on cassette, working mornings as a greenskeeper at the Bishop Golf Course, afternoons floating the Owens River in inner tubes, backpack trips into the high country, madly in love with the girl next door, skinny dipping at Hot Creek, all the time in the world, and nothing but a string of endless possibilities stretching out before me. I look into Annette's eyes, tell her that it all seems like a dream, and ask, how did this happen? How did we get old? I'm back among the bristlecones. The sun sinks across the valley and behind the Sierra crest. The air cools, the sky darkens, the first stars emerge, pinpricks and a cobalt backdrop. The Sentinels stand golden in the alpenglow. My tripod and camera are set, but it will be at least another hour until the sky darkens completely and the Milky Way rises over the ridge to the east. In the meantime, I sit quiet and observe nature unfold, the chatter in my head diminished. In preparation for a trip later in the year to India, I have just read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, a novel about a man's lifelong quest for enlightenment. Hesse wrote, "A single goal stood before Siddhartha, to become empty of desire." In the end, Siddhartha does achieve enlightenment and becomes the Buddha. He meditates by the river, contemplating that time, like the river, moves incessantly forward. As such, one must embrace the nature of things and love the world in its completeness. In the end, if you are receptive, you will receive a vision of timelessness and experience the whole circle of life. That is the inescapable fate of we humans. In fact, of all things living and non-living, and we must find a way to be at peace with that. The arrow of time is inescapable here atop the White Mountains, near to the stars, among the bristlecones. The quartzite slope to which the Sentinels cling is a burnished red in the alpenglow. 200 million years ago, this layer of stone lay at the bottom of a great inland sea, the water rusting flecks of iron within the quartz before it was all thrust 10,000 feet skyward by forces of volcanism and plate tectonics. The sky is now completely dark, the forest cloaked in total silence, my mind now tranquil, me observing with wonder. The Milky Way, a galaxy that formed over 13 billion years ago, rises in the east. I began taking pictures, my camera gathering starlight that has traveled 26,000 years to get here. It is near midnight, and the dead sentinel, from my camera's vantage point, appears locked in a dance with the core of the Milky Way. The tree and the galaxy arc toward each other, ancient, embracing ancient. I take more photos before realizing there will be none better and sit in silence to admire the night sky. A shooting star blazes in an arc across the whole of the visible sky, lasting a full 3 seconds before vanishing behind the silhouette of the Sierra far to the southwest. I smile and remember an August night many years ago when my uncle and I went to see a drive-in movie. But it was the peak of the Perseid meteor shower, and we ended up ignoring the movie, instead laying on the hood of the station wagon, staring heavenly, counting the falling stars, which numbered more than 100 per hour. He too passed recently, suddenly and unexpectedly. I gather my camera equipment and stow everything in my backpack. I place my hand on the trunk of a bristlecone next to the trail. I close my eyes and empty my mind completely. It is not difficult, should you come here, to find peace in these mountains among the trees. I remove my hand, nod to the sentinels, and depart down the trail and into the night.